to its knees by the COVID-19 pandemic, governments around the globe scrambled to contain the chaos, not just medically, but economically. In the United States, trillions of dollars were unleashed in emergency relief funds. These were designed to keep small businesses afloat, put food on the table for struggling families, and prevent a total collapse of the economy. But in the shadows of this global emergency, a new wave of criminals emerged. Opportunists who saw the pandemic not as a tragedy, but as a chance to get rich quick. Among the boldest of them was a man named Richard Ivazian and his extended family, who would go on to pull off one of the most jaw-dropping scams in COVID relief history. At first glance, Richard Ivazian looked like your average successful businessman. Living in a lavish house in Encino, California, he appeared to have it all: wealth, status, a beautiful family. But behind that facade was a web of lies, carefully spun to defraud the federal government out of millions. Alongside his wife Marietta Tarabilian and his sister-in-law Tamara Dadian, Richard orchestrated a scheme that exploited the Paycheck Protection Program, PPP, and the Economic Injury Disaster Loan, EIDL programs, financial lifelines that were supposed to support honest, struggling business owners during one of the darkest times in recent history. The plan was devilishly simple, yet executed with precision. The family created dozens of fake businesses, shell companies that existed only on paper. They used stolen identities, falsified tax documents, and invented payroll numbers to apply for loans. In total, they submitted over 150 fraudulent loan applications, securing more than $20 million from pandemic relief funds. These funds were meant to help real people, nurses, teachers, restaurant owners. Instead, they were used to fund luxury lifestyles, high-end jewelry, designer clothes, lavish vacations, and even real estate. One of the properties they purchased was a $3.25 million mansion in the heart of the San Fernando Valley. But they didn't stop at one or two companies. The family operated like a fraud factory. They would find a stolen identity, create a new fake business, and then build an entire digital paper trail to make it look legitimate. Bank statements were forged, IRS documents were fabricated, even fake websites were built to make the companies seem real. At one point, they even roped in other relatives and friends to expand their network of fraud. It was organized, relentless, and shockingly bold. As the money rolled in, so did the red flags. Federal investigators started noticing patterns, multiple applications coming from the same addresses, businesses with no prior tax records suddenly claiming massive losses, and dozens of loans going to people who didn't even know they were part of the scheme. The Department of Justice launched an investigation, and soon, the Ivazian family's world began to crumble. In early 2021, the FBI closed in. Richard, Marietta, Tamara, and several others were indicted on charges of conspiracy, wire fraud, bank fraud, and aggravated identity theft. The evidence was overwhelming. Emails, financial records, and witness testimonies all pointed to a highly coordinated operation that exploited the chaos of the pandemic for personal gain. But Richard had one last trick up his sleeve. Just weeks before he was scheduled to be sentenced, Richard and his wife vanished. They removed their GPS ankle monitors, left a note for their children, and disappeared. It was a scene straight out of a movie. Authorities believed they fled the country with stolen funds, possibly using fake passports. A nationwide manhunt was launched. The couple was featured on the U.S. Marshals Most Wanted list, with rewards offered for information leading to their capture. Months passed. Rumors swirled. Some said they were hiding in Mexico, others claimed they made it to Europe. But in the end, it was a quiet town in Montenegro that became their final destination. In November 2022, after nearly a year on the run, Richard and Marietta were captured and extradited back to the United States. In court, the judge showed no leniency. Richard was sentenced to 17 years in federal prison, one of the longest sentences handed down for pandemic-related fraud. Marietta received 6 years. Tamara Dadian, who played a key role in the scheme, was sentenced to over 10 years. The impact of their crimes extended far beyond stolen money. Their actions eroded public trust, slowed down relief efforts, and contributed to the growing frustration that legitimate business owners felt as they struggled to access funds. Every dollar they stole was a dollar taken from someone who actually needed help. A family trying to keep their home, a small business trying to stay afloat, an essential worker trying to feed their kids. And they weren't alone. The Ivazian case was just one piece of a massive puzzle. According to the Secret Service, more than $100 billion in COVID relief funds may have been lost to fraud. Scammers, hackers, and white-collar criminals across the country saw the pandemic as a gold rush. Some operated in small-time rings. Others, like the Ivazian family, built entire empires on deception. What's most shocking is how quickly and easily it all happened. The government, under pressure to release funds fast, loosened many of its standard checks and safeguards. That urgency, while understandable, opened the floodgates to fraud. Applications were often processed without proper verification. In some cases, loans were approved in less than a day, with no one checking whether the business even existed.
Meanwhile, a couple, Richard Ivazian and his wife, Marietta Terabellian, have been jailed for their fraudulent role in a massive COVID relief fraud scheme when they cut off their electronic tracking bracelet and fled their California home, abandoning their 3 teenage children. They left a typewritten note for the kids, ages 13, 15 and 16, saying, quote, "We'll be together again one day. This is not a goodbye, but a brief break from each other," end of quote. This was late August. Almost 3 months later and 5 months after their convictions in June, the couple still have not been found. The FBI is searching for them. That didn't stop the judge this week from sentencing the couple in absentia to 17 and 6 years in prison. Prosecutors say they and others carried out a scheme to steal more than $20 million in relief funds intended for small businesses during the pandemic.